Hello, everyone. It is Cait from the afternoons here on WAPE, and I am hanging out with Todd Bourgeois. Did I get that right?
You nailed it. Really good.
Yay. Not an easy last name, but definitely fun to say when you do get it. So you are competing on American Ninja Warrior right now, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Sure are.
Okay. Okay. So, and it's not your first go around, been on there a few times. So, what made you initially get into competing and everything?
Well, actually, believe it or not, I'm a big old nerd, and I'm a professor at a graduate program where I teach physical therapists. And the students are the ones that actually got me on it. I mean, that was over 10 years ago. They had invited me to do a little, competition with them. That was some obstacle courses, and I, you know, was like, okay, I'll do it. I was a pole vaulter in college and loved competing, so I was like, let's go. And then, we did it. We won it, and then I won the individual one, and then I won another obstacle course thing, and it was just kind of like, I think I might be all right at this. And then they were like, you should do American Ninja Warrior, and I was like, what is that? And then I looked it up and saw these guys and girls doing these amazing things, and I was like, oh, I don't know about that. And they were like, no, do it. They basically filled the application out for me, and boom, there we are. I just went
Wow.
for it, and had a good
Some
experience. And
some awesome students there for sure. So, how does it
yeah,
feel continuing to go back for multiple seasons?
over and over again. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of addicting. You have a well, I love to compete. It's just in my nature. I'm 42 years old, and I'm still can't stop. It's just something that's fun for me. And the reality of it when it comes to the show itself is I actually don't think I've actually been able to display my true talent, if you will. I've
Okay.
always come up short, and that's kind of the ninja nature of it. You're going to end up falling at some point unless you win it all, and then then you're going to fall some other time. But I just have always wanted to do better and better to prove to myself that I can go farther and farther, and I still seem to come up short, even though I've been able to compete for 10 seasons. And you always want to just say, I think I can do better. So keeps you hungry, keeps you coming for back, and plus it's amazing to just stay moving, keep you motivated, something that you train for, and keep it going. And because the number one rule in sports physical therapy and human performance is if you don't use it, you lose it, and I don't want to
Absolutely.
lose it, so I'm gonna keep going.
Absolutely. So, this year, what are you hoping to get out of competing other than obviously, winning?
Yeah, you always just want to go farther than you went before and continue to grow and inspire and do the things and keep yourself motivating those around you. You want to form a community around you is really what makes it an ideal situation. And haven't quite got that going yet, and there's a lot of established gyms now that have just really taken into, the kids and that factor and like really cultivating a great community and showing people how to be better humans through the competition and traveling and doing all these fun, national events. It really creates a cool dynamic, and it's fun to be like, I'm not completely immersed in any of those, kind of from the outskirts. I'm kind of the lone soldier, training in the swamp myself. And it's just really cool community to be a part of, is the honest truth. And that's really fun.
So, you mentioned the swamp kind of having your own course. One, where is that if someone's interested in kind of checking it out? And two, what made you set that up yourself?
Well, therein lies a very unique and interesting story. So I was in a meeting, again, a long time ago, with the university higher ups at the University of St. Augustine for Health Sciences. And they just said, hey, what can we do to increase student morale? And I just kind of raised my hand and I was like, why don't you let me build a ninja course? And they're like, what? uh, so we did. It has to be in past tense now. On the campus where we were located, there was this wetlands in the back that we couldn't do anything with. So they allowed me to build a full-blown course out there. And it was
Wow.
only accessible to the student body, faculty, staff. So it was kind of a closed system, to only have us for liability purposes, obviously.
Absolutely.
So we
Yeah.
were never really able to open it up to the community and have that like full blown, bring in kids and all that, which is something I've always desired to do. Now the campus has moved and we've moved locations. So now I no longer actually have the swamp course,
Oh,
as like an accessible thing for myself even. And this has recently happened, like, in the, very recently. So I'm
oh,
in the process
okay.
of trying to sort that part out. So like I said, it's a funny story that you asked that.
So is the swamp now like, is this going to be like one of those like abandoned places that people look back on and is like, this is where they used to train for American Ninja Warrior, or does like another company own it or something?
Possibly, it's all in communication and it's all like, in dormancy right now. Trying to figure out maybe what could happen with it if we were, at some point able to get my hands back on it. I don't know. That's again not great entertainment to talk about that, but
Yeah.
it is something it still exists and it is, dormant. So kind of a bummer, but at the same time, it lived its legacy, that's for sure. I mean, it was over, I think, 12, 13 years just training out there
Wow.
with all the bugs and snakes and raccoons and you name it. It was super cool.
Oh goodness. No, that sounds like a
Yeah.
nightmare for me.
Nah, it was amazing. Beautiful piece of property.
So you have gained the name Cajun Cowboy. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so I grew up in Southwest Louisiana. I am a real cowboy. Rodeo through high school.
Wow.
I, just roping and riding was kind of my lifestyle. Me and my two older brothers growing up on that ranch, and my dad, and we still own cattle. I still run cattle. I still own my own herd, and so true cowboy in its rudimentariest form that you can get there. And then the Southwest Louisiana has this Cajun flavor, right? There's all these Cajun boys running around. We like to eat our sausages and boudin and gumbo and have our our balls and eat our crawfish, and we got our own music. We have our own style. So when I moved over here to the East Coast of Florida to work at the university, one of my mentors just one day came up with the name. He was like, Cajun Cowboys here, blah blah blah, and I was like, oh, that's a good one. And then randomly in an interview on American Ninja Warrior my first season, they asked, well, what do people call you? And I said, well, you wouldn't understand my name from Louisiana, but here in Florida they call me the Cajun Cowboy. And they were like, boom, that's your name. You're the Cajun Cowboy from now on.
Love that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely memorable for sure. Easy to remember. So I like it,
yeah,
definitely. So going back to kind of American Ninja Warrior, anyone that wants to kind of get in this, maybe loves the show and is like, oh, I really want to do that. What advice do you have for someone that's kind of just starting fresh on everything?
yeah. Well, if you're interested in getting into the sport, which is is a whole world that's been created there. You don't actually have to go to the show and get through casting and get on that platform. There's leagues that are separate,
Oh,
from this whole international thing, and these are worldwide championships too. They've grown over the years and gotten really good. So you can start off real easy and try out one of the leagues. First, get yourself into a gym in the Jacksonville area. You got Rock Ninja Gym, and there's a couple other ones kind of stirring
okay.
up. Just do a little searching for it and just dabble with it. See if it's something you're interested in. Try it out. Remember, this is a high level physical activity. You can't expect to go out there and be a shining star in your first try. You got to practice a bit, give it some
Yeah.
tries, let your body acclimate to it, and then see how it goes. Because I think most people would be surprised when you give it your first try. You're like, oh, I thought I was going to be able to smoke that thing, but it's not that easy. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, dabble in it, give it a shot. I mean, your bodies will train over time, and if it ain't for you, then move on and find your next thing, because I believe that, motion is life, like that just brings so much health and well-being to us humans. And when you're moving, it's helping all parts of your life and your body and everything and brain and all things combined. So I think ninja is just a well-rounded activity because you're doing balance, you're doing upper body stuff, you're doing power explosion things. You got to think mentally through all these, different movements and how to create it. It's a very awesome activity, awesome sport.
Definitely something I could not do. I remember, I can't even remember where it was at, but when I was in high school, there was like a sample course at some place that we had gone, and I did it with friends, and I don't even think I made it past the first thing. I was like, that was fun.
Well, again, you have it one shot, but what if you went 2 or 3 days a week and kept
That's
at it?
true.
You'd be surprised at how much you'll grow. And I've experienced that quite a bit. Students coming out there training with me, and man, to see, within like 2 or 3 months, they're like doing obstacles. I was like, there ain't no way you could have done that, but you're doing it now, and it's pretty cool.
That's
You
true.
just
It
got to
really
stay
is
with
just
it.
kind of like a workout routine. If you keep with it, you get better. So I'm just like, I'm gonna watch people do it and cheer them on when they make it to the end.
That's awesome.
So, last question. If you make it all the way to the end, you win the big prize. Any specific plans for that money that you hope to put it towards?
I thought about that a good bit, and I have this philanthropy side of me. We always, every year take a team of medical providers to a third world country, and
Mm,
we do some work out there. And it's always been a dream of mine to establish a house or something somewhere where we could continuously go back to and really help a community out. So I think I would kind of put it to good works like that. That's where I would, channel that energy or channel that financial support and grow that, because it really is like one of my passions. And I have a blast, taking, putting these trips together and going out there and just doing things. And we have fun. We surf and we, do all kind of cool, excursions while we're there. But, we're loving on, anywhere from 400 to 500 people when we go on those trips. And, we just repeatedly go back each year to try to do what we can do for the communities that, this underdeserved, population. So that's probably where I would channel it, is try to help out.
okay, that's amazing. Well, I will be rooting
Yeah.
for you to win this year. Best of luck. And thanks so much for hanging out with me this afternoon.
Yeah. Anytime, girl. I'll